Alright, hey everyone, I'm back again. Today I've got another podcast with Oakli. He's gone away, so I'll be hosting everything on my channel, so it'll be an extra long video this time round. We cover topics in regards to what the etheric realms could be, like the spaces that you see in, or you experience in out-of-body experiences, just higher order dimensions of this place, to which the material world could possibly just be a condensed version of within like a limited, confined set of rules that something has just thought up and we've kind of resonated with, or given our consent to be put into a denser set of conditions, just how like the metaverse is that same principle just seen in the physical. Yeah, the idea of like what these entities are, and also our experiences. We're just observing NPCs taking certain psychoactive plant materials, and how they just don't seem to have the same response as someone who comes from a place that isn't just the material world. It's very interesting. We also talk about a particular entity which might be this Mother Earth Sophia deity, and our interactions with her is very interesting and vastly different to the other sorts of interactions we've had with entities in that space. And it's not just myself. You know, the thumbnail of this video is my depiction of her. I did it in Photoshop, but you know, I've exhibited it around the place, and I've had various other psychonauts come up to me and say that they've experienced the same particular entity. So it's not just our own experiences. This seems to be a collective, just a collective experience of some sort of this particular entity. And yeah, there's the idea that she could possibly be at the threshold of this place, and possibly her imprint and the fine line between this place and Pleroma outside of here. So it's very interesting to talk about. Yeah, like, this was recorded before my interview with Garrett, so we do talk about a Telegram group before it was actually done. So if you are interested, I shall leave a link for anyone who wants to join in the description down below and the pinned comment. So once again, guys, thank you for your time and hope you enjoy. And until next time, take care out there. So yeah, you were talking about like how what was it related to? Bunch of music, psytrance.
Yeah, it was about getting pulled into party mode when you're doing psychedelic medicines.
Oh, okay, yeah, and the whole hippie new age sort of thing.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
What we'll do is I'll repeat it again because we've pressed record. So my friend held a San Pedro ceremony, and with like high dose mushrooms, and like halfway through the night, I said to him, "Oh, can we put some reggae on?" He's looked at me and he's like, "What?" He went, "All right, I'll do it for you. Come on in." So I put some reggae on. It didn't gel quite well, so I left and just went over the other side of his garden, a big fucking garden. And other people then wanted a bit different music and a bit of this, and it started into like party mode, right? And he come up to me and went, see, fucking party. You know, he says it's medicine. We're not supposed to be doing partying. And I was like, it's fine. He goes, it's your fault. I was like, I mean, you allowed the music to go on. Anyway, what happened was I started holding mushroom ceremonies mixed with ayahuasca, but it was mainly for medicine workers and shamans, whatever else, right? If you want to call them shamans, just a word. You know where I'm coming from. And so what we used to do is we used to do a lot of mushrooms and mix it with ayahuasca, and it does get very strong. And you need to be able to hold your own to do that sort of thing. So what I've done is in the lounge, I had like big speakers, and I used to play psytrance. And then in the ceremony room, which was quite a bit away, so you couldn't hear the music, was like your meditation music or your ceremonial music, Icaros and whatever else. So you could come between the two. But what it was, I struggled with holding these ceremonies, because I'd asked Spirit loads of times. Yeah, I'm like, is it all right to do this in sort of a party capacity? And the Spirit kept saying to me, yeah, why not? Because dancing and singing and being like that is healing just in itself. It's just healing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll do that. And it's like, if you need to go in and lay down and whatever, and do your introspection work and whatever else, then so be it. Go and do that. But what we was noticing was, even with the music really loud playing psytrance, you would journey, because you knew what to do anyway. You'd be dancing and you'd be journeying full anyway. So, excuse me, it was an interesting time to go through that.
Yeah.
And the psychedelics were so strong, because apparently when you mix ayahuasca with mushrooms, it apparently makes the mushrooms like 2 or 3 times more powerful or stronger than what they normally are. So if you're doing like 7, 8, 9, 10 grams of mushrooms, you're like doing 20 or equivalent to 30 grams of mushrooms. And what was happening was, for people and myself, right, you'd go into these realms with your eyes closed. Maybe you'd open your eyes and you'd still be in the same realm, or you'd be seeing all the spirits everywhere and whatever else. And
out of body at that point.
yeah, it was really, really strong stuff. But it would teach you a lot, even by this dancing. So I think in a party capacity, if you actually know what you're doing, you still get the healing and the journey and the insights that you need from doing that.
I don't think, like, like with any sort of spiritual practice, whether it be whether you use a material portal in the form of a sacrament, like that one of them can be a psychedelic, or you induce it via meditative effort, or you do something else, an extreme sports activity could even do it, or even traumatic experiences. Like, so we're not sort of saying, is it okay to use these things in the party setting? I don't think there's any real formula laid out. It's just basically just a kind of tradition or convention that's just been laid down by a group of people who want to give themselves a name. When really, like, we figure out that all of these traditions and cults and mystery schools, what have you, they're all finding the gnosis in their own way, and it also depended upon the region. Like you had the Gnostics, which a lot of them were basically just being persecuted in the area that they were living in. And then you also had like Hermeticists, who were more optimistic, just because they were given more like leeway. So but they're all kind of chipping away at the same knowledge at the end of the day. So it's not like, I guess, because what we were talking about before we started recording was, just the idea of like why you would use a psychedelic, or, I mean, I'd say psychedelics just because we've had experience with them, but it could be for anything really. And it's just like, there's a lot of people who use it for just party purposes, but that's fine, and I actually I don't mind that. I quite like that, but it's not. I talk about the type of person. It's not the activity. It's the type of person. Like, do they just party, and do they just want to like sit at the surface level, experience like the visuals of the experience, not even observe the experience, but kind of like just be affected by it. I guess that's the sort of thing that I was thinking of, and it's not really that. There's no formula, and to say that there is a formula is a bit yeah, I guess that's how people get attracted to different like paths, because it's really dependent on the individual and like what your particular biases are that's been set up by this thing and what's going to work for you. And we have like different mental faculties. Like some people prefer like a more intimate experience with other people, whereas other people are more interested in like space and time if they're more oriented towards like logic. Just different ways of different portals, different almost different universes within like the confines of the ego to experience this life. So it's just it looks like anything goes in terms of finding it. There are like objective moral laws and things of that sort, which is which is, you know, that they kind of get blurred together and mixed in with this kind of religious mindset of that anything goes and the universe has our backs and everything's just a grand plan by God for our own benefit and evolution. It's a bit more direct than that. I think it's kind of like what you were saying, coming into your own power. It's not in the new age sense of just letting things happen to you and just accept the universe, man. The universe loves you. It's all about love, man. Oh, don't hate because you're just powering it, man. Just chill out. Take some drugs, take some LSD. You know, it's it's a lot more. It's taking like the power into your own hands through like knowledge of the mind, which they don't tell you, and understanding things like math psychology and understanding physics, and really just getting down to the nuts and bolts of basically the demiurge's realm, like how it works, how it operates.
Sure. It's interesting what you were saying a minute ago about where some people, it's just down the surface level when they do these substances. There's a guy over on one of the boats, and he has been doing mushrooms, I think he said, for at least 25 years. And he's never had a spiritual experience. And I was like, what? And he didn't even know what a spiritual experience is. And he's just like, oh yeah, the colours and the sparkles, and he's looking at the stars and he's doing this and he's listening to this music and that music and whatever else. And I actually was like dumbfounded.
Yeah.
He'd never had a spiritual experience. And now I'm not judging. I'm just expressing how I see it, and
it's
what
surprising. It's profound.
Yeah, because for me, psychedelics are very profound and humbling, and it's like if we go back and use the term NPC, whether it's a real thing or not, what come into me was it looks like an NPC is doing a psychedelic and not understanding really what it's about, and are they really an NPC? Because I had a spiritual experience the first time I done LSD when I was 15. The first time was overwhelmingly what you would call a divine experience on the first ever time, and I was 15. So I have pondered it when he said to me last year, I've never had a spiritual experience. It doesn't really, he doesn't even know what a spiritual experience is or divine experience. Because I said to him, like, do you have any beliefs around like sort of a god or a spirit or this and that? And he's like, nah, not really.
Yeah.
And it's like quite a few people over here I've spoken to have done mushrooms, and it's like all of them have said no.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just like they've had a few drinks with it, or their backs up against the wall where it's a little bit strong.
Yeah, they usually mix it with alcohol, so which
Oh.
is crazy. I could never do that for
No.
something. I actually it'd be like spiritually dangerous opening those two pools at the same time and mixing the energies. But yeah, it's surprising because you would think that um, this is not something that you have to try. This is like we were saying before, like a cheat code. Like it
Yeah.
will it will force you out of your body, like
Mhm.
pharmacologically. It will force you to have an experience in these demiurgic realms, like
Yeah.
that suspend the material plane.
Mhm.
And then, yeah, it's very surprising because I I know loads of people who also just they purely get affected by the effects, and I think that those sort of superficial effects, the sort of morphing, the colors, the the synesthesia, yeah, that's the pathways in the brain, like and sensory uh, sensory parts or responsible for processing your senses or biological functions or even motor control. They're all kind of getting mixed together. But then, yeah, sure, like the NPCs can get affected by these substances, but for a lot of them, it's basically party time because they're enjoying what it's doing to basically disorient their ego.
Yeah.
Now, if they just the ego, then they do get affected by it.
Yeah.
Um, but not in the way of because I did because I've been trying to figure this out for quite a fair bit of time, and just passively over the years, seeing it in other people, thinking I have really profound experiences on this, and I download a lot of knowledge that would have taken me years
Yeah.
to achieve, and people just I've even seen like a guy on so like normal dose DMT is like 100 milligrams. He'll do 5 times that in the same amount of time, and literally nothing will happen.
Yeah.
And he'd see a few colors, bearing in mind that DMT is the most potent psychedelic known to man. It's like endogenously produced in our brain, passes through the blood-brain barrier effortlessly as if it were blood, because the body accepts it as a native neurotransmitter in
Yeah.
the brain. Like this thing will shoot you through a hole in reality to a different world, completely disintegrate your senses, give you a different body in a different realm, contacting all sorts of alien beings and archetypes of the collective unconscious and all this shit. And it's like it just doesn't affect some of these guys. But then I'm thinking maybe it does, but um, sort of like a point that I was making in the last podcast, how they don't have these like mental devices that's able to like orient their attention back to that center point of the self,
Okay.
and basically internal anarchy. So
Right.
this is where the cognitive dissonance comes in. They're running simultaneous programs that contradict each other. Some cancel each other out. Some's a net negative. Some's a net positive. But it's completely fucking random. Completely determined by the demiurge. Completely merged into the demiurge because they have these discontinuous programs in their minds. So there's internal anarchy. That must mean an external anarchy must
Yeah.
put onto them. An external monarchy has to be
Okay.
put onto them,
Okay.
which we see in the external, because the external is the manifestation of the internal collectively in the aggregate, not for us, but for them, which
Yeah.
is the majority. So I'm just sort of thinking to myself, okay, so they've got this internal anarchy, and they don't have these devices that's able to orient themselves back to them. So they don't understand what the mantra is, which is just that. So, what I was saying before, we can't suspend this higher knowledge. Um, with language because it's a lower order mechanism. That's a byproduct of the material plane, so that's even lower down, even denser.
Yeah.
But it's what we do is we do it through we sustain our own devices through mantra with language. So what we're talking about here is kind of like a mantra in its own way, because there's no there's the spiritual technique is not set in stone. It's very much up to interpretation. So what we're doing is we're like sharing information, but then that's called triggering stuff in our minds that's able to then perhaps fill out a blind spot or reinforce particular loops or things that you say to yourself that focus you back to your true self, such as if a negative thought comes into your head, that's not really me. That's I see that as foreign, whereas I might believe that before if my mind was in a state of anarchy. So it's I'm thinking that if it's the same biological brain, it's just that the particular configuration of the neural pathways don't allow for the conditions for whatever interdimensional entities, including us as souls and spirit, as one of the particular types of entity that's able to resonate through organic pools, which is basically Mother Earth or Sophia's shadow in her multitude of forms and expression in the material world. So maybe it's that, okay, they don't have the right configuration for an entity like us to be incarnate. They're actually more resonant with a hive mind entity as this Watiko demiurgic thing. But then maybe they go there, but they actually go to their higher self, which is actually the hive mind thing. So what I'm thinking, you see what I'm saying? So what I'm thinking is that it's in its best interest not to give them the mantra or any part of soul to incarnate in order for them to take the knowledge that the individual unit as the human being flesh avatar attains. So it's very possible that they do experience what we experience, but it's the hive mind that's experiencing it, that's already there, in the same way that whatever we are in the higher realms is already there. We're just going back into it. The new set of senses is how we experience it, just in a more expanded state, possibly.
Yeah. The way people describe it, who class as an NPC, it doesn't even seem to that they're breaking through to even what you're saying, to a hive mind. It's like there's no breakthrough experience, and if they are breaking through, I think I've said this before, they're meeting machine elves and stuff like that. That what maybe you're talking about with the hive, the machine world. I've said this on a video I posted on the channel, that I've never seen the machine elves, the machine world. I've never seen it. It's never presented itself to me at all, and I've done like really high doses of it. And I've always wondered why. It's not like I really had to or wanted to experience that. It was just, I always wondered, oh, how comes I never witnessed that? Because the realms for me are just pure nature based, high powered, loving realms. I mean, we'll touch upon love bombs and stuff like that if you want to as well, about how there's deception around that. But it was a complete sense of power in its malevolence. There's nothing malevolent about it for me. Now, I'm not saying that you can't go into those realms and find malevolent places, because of course you can. But I've had it a few times where I've held ceremony for people, and they've just, something just didn't seem right. I used to hold a ceremony, a Changa ceremony for like people on their own, and not in groups. And a lot of people wanted to do that because it's very personal doing this. And this guy used to come around. So he was a business owner and I think it was an insurance firm. And he used to come around in his suit, driving like £100,000 car. And I was firstly like, do you want some jogging bottoms and a t-shirt or something? And he was like, no. I said, do you want to at least take your tie off? Even just that mindset of not even coming out of not even taking your suit. I mean, he used to wear his jacket and do DMT. I'm like, oh wow, but he did go in and sort of do releasing of trauma and bits and pieces like that. He used to have a scream up and he used to like have a cry sometimes and release that sort of thing. But not once in the time he was coming to me did he ever reference something divine.
Yeah.
Or mother, or do you know what I mean? Or even a feminine aspect. There was nothing in the conversation around that. And I mean, this was, I don't know, maybe 8 years or so ago, and I only come across the NPC terminology and the whole Hylic mimic thing a few years after that, and then it sort of come into my conscious maybe 3 or 4 years ago, really prevalent, where I was sort of more researching it and finding out about this. And just going back to the guy who he said, like, he's been doing these mushrooms for over 25 years and never had a spiritual experience, because whatever that really means, but what I call it as the divine experience. Are they then, it's not their journey, it's not their time, they're not supposed to see it, they're supposed to do this whatever mundane life and never experience the true essence of what we are in this incarnation? I have to put on the table as well, it's blockages and ego blockages, entity blockages, the system black hat blockages or whatever. But again, is that has the spirit put these beings in place to assist us in a way where they're going to block that journey for these guys and girls, so that, because they're not supposed to have this particular experience at this time in their life?
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff to that. What you said. In terms of like the blockages, this is something that happened like directly to me with someone who I knew in my life, who I now figured out in retrospect that he was actually a mimic, supposed to like drain my energy. But in the same way, it was what I was talking about, how whatever they do to try and subjugate us, it always ends up doing the opposite. And there's literally just no way that they can get a grip on controlling us.
Yeah.
They try to, they have to go on the attack because it's in its nature. Otherwise, it wouldn't have to deal with us like how the NPCs have to deal with us. They can't just we can't just exist, but it comes onto you. And okay, so anyway, the way that this particular mimic affected me was, I was stuck in the game of thinking I can change him. Spent years trying. This is when he did like 5 times the normal dose of DMT. Got a few flashing colours, but then, interestingly enough, he did get something, and this is after trying multiple times.
Right.
But okay, so it was 2 greys. We know what they're possibly about. 2 greys standing in front of him, blocking his way to something, he said. And what they were doing is they were distracting him with shimmering white towels, shimmering like golden towels.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that ever happened to him. But bearing in mind, this guy doesn't get anything. Like, he gets, so I think in the one, after trying for like ages, and the only reason why he wanted to try was because he heard about it from Joe Rogan. So that's what you're dealing with. And I was thinking, probably direct blockage, something like that. But even if they are, I think it so like if they are reconnecting with their higher self as the hive mind entity that subjugates the entire species, it's not, they wouldn't come back and tell you, you know, firstly, if they were like more of a direct conscious thought from the demiurge, so we're talking about like incarnate demons, they wouldn't, there'll be a deliberate conscious choice not to tell you, just to keep you on this sort of like hamster wheel of trying to like stumble around and figure out all these weird coincidences you get with these kinds of people, these weird interactions. But even if he was like the more unconscious NPC type, he probably did meet his master, except that was there anyone there to meet the master other than the master himself? So
Yeah.
it's like how they're just set up, how they're built is to have no self-awareness back to themselves. They wouldn't be able to introspect in a way that they'll be able to tell you that they've had an experience. They might have, but what happens when they come back was, oh yeah, man, that was a crazy ride. Wow, it was all these colors and flashing and shit, dude.
Yeah. I've heard this so many times. What I used to play with at first was dosage. So, like you said, you done the guy done like sort of 500 milligram. For me, that would around sensitivity as well of your system. So, is it that their resistance or their sensitivity needs even more than that to break through or to get the experience? Because obviously we're trying to ascertain here. I mean, I've always been trying to ascertain, is the NPC a real thing, or is it just we're all spirit and some of us are just totally asleep, and obviously different levels in between up until, you know, awakened as you can be before you leave this realm
Without dying.
Without dying.
Yeah.
So is it down to dosage and resistance? Because the first ever time I done DMT, I didn't even know I didn't even know I was going to do it. What happened was I was having some soul retrieval work from a shaman and some general healing, like putting crystals on me, just balancing the system, and doing some counselling with me, stuff like that. And I'd been seeing him for like, I don't know, maybe sort of 5, 6, 7 times. And then I went up to his ceremony room to do what I thought was going to be just another healing session of whatever. And he said, oh, Spirit said to me today, you're going to do Changa. And I had no idea what Changa was. I mean, I knew what DMT was, but I didn't put the 2 and 2 together. He just said Changa. Okay. So I went, yeah, okay, what'd you do? He went, oh, we put it in a pipe and you smoke it. And I was like, okay. So he, and I'm just dressed like quite normal. Just me, I had a pair of jeans on at the time and a t-shirt, and I was in a pair of trainers. And I'd actually due to go and pick my daughter up from school about 3 hours later. And so I had no idea what was coming. So he done this particular dose. I don't know the dosage.
Yeah.
I smoked it, and I was sitting up in sort of a meditative position. So he got me to meditate first for a little while, and I was just in this meditative position of sitting upright. And it just went totally orange and like a mandala. It was like flat, but I knew it was feminine, and I knew it was really beautiful. I come out of that maybe the usual 15 minutes later, just basically looking at this flat orange Mandela effect. And I said to him straight away, I'm going to need more of that. So he dosed me up. Like I said, I don't know the dosage, but I know he loaded the pipe fully up. And I took the hit, and I had an instant breakthrough. I didn't know at the time that was a breakthrough, but it was like it's through the tunnel, in a portal to a realm. And for me at the time, I was a mess. I was all over the shop. Life was a mess. My psychology was a mess. My mental health was a mess. And I was going through a breakup with my partner at the time. And what happened was I basically just started crying, and it didn't stop for about 45 minutes. Just continued, just a release of just so much pent up shit over the years. It just all had to come out. My point was that looking back, the dosage was probably not that high, because I remember him saying to me, a 200 milligram is a high dose. And I don't think he would, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think he would have put in any more than 200 milligram for me. But I broke through on the 200 milligram on my second ever smoke on that day. And subsequently from there on, I've broken through every single time. I've never had a non-breakthrough experience on it since. And that was, I don't know, 10 or so years ago, maybe. But is it, like I said, is it some sort of mental blockage that is not allowing them to do this particular time on their journey, maybe? And it was right for us. I mean, psychedelics have always been in my life since I was 15, and it was right for me to do that, because what I feel was something you said about psychedelics for myself have been through, because I'm a very adrenalized fast person. I'm very distracted all the time, and I probably wouldn't have sat down and done the introspection work and whatever else. And psychedelics, like that powerful, will force you on your ass and force you to face what you need to face. And that's what they done for me. I had to face what I needed to.
That's why they can be so dangerous if you're not in a frame of mind where you can integrate the information, because then all of a sudden you come face to face with your shadow.
Yeah.
And bearing in mind, this is just a cheat code. You could do this without any of this stuff. I know loads of people who's done it, but if you want to force it, you can. And you got to be ready, for the information that you acquire. It's bypassing the ego, especially DMT. Is dissolving the ego, shooting us into a different place, which is very much, I think, the realms of your subconscious, definitely there. So then you do still have language as well. So then there's this kind of, you can bring some of it back as a concept, but then there's this kind of it's the world of the collective unconscious and other etheric and astral realms in the demiurgic multiverse, and we can go to heaven realms, you can go to hell realms, all sorts of places. But it can be dangerous. I feel that some people shouldn't do it because they're not ready. And I think in terms of breaking through, which a lot of people do have trouble doing, I think it is also part and part a mindset as well. So the mimic guy, it's about your frame of reference and how much intuition I feel you have, which is the sort of extra sensory plugin that sits above the 5 sensory domain. So it sees a higher dimensional aspect of the sensory domain and is a portal to the 5th and 6th dimensions and other dimensions, like I explained in one of my previous videos. But so I'd say something that space that we go to is here right now. It's just in a different frequency, and we're just tuning into a denser, we're tuning to a denser program, and we have 5 senses too, and it's just very limiting. And he said it's like he glitched out, and then he just said, no, that place is there, this is here. Bearing in mind he hadn't been there. But I'm just thinking, okay, so before I had that experience, I could understand that as a concept. That when we say frequency, we're talking about specific potentials and like flows of energy that in the like conventional physics nomenclature has like a specific like meaning in terms of how things move through space and time, like physics and science. But in terms of like we encompass that, but it also can be extrapolated and then spoken about in terms of like actual different forms of consciousness and their flux through like medium, whatever it is, the material world, the astral plane, high dimensions, what have you. So it's just like that's just an intuitive concept of like just, and I guess a kind of humbleness to know that there are processes that's even governing what we're saying here.
Yeah.
And that everything we're saying, the as language pours out, that's like well delayed byproduct of activity in the physical brain, which they have done like EEG scans and seen that like the language area of the brain actually lights up a few seconds before the speech actually comes out. So there's this very collective, intertwined process with the material world, but also the energies and the vibrations that it sits above the physical world and is the principles that kind of extrudes the physical world into something that conscious being can recognize. So yeah, it's just I think it's also the frame mind that's able to like have a predisposition to because like I've not the ego that like we're talking with, it's not the DMT space, it's this place and it's a very low order, but it's I keep coming back to these mental devices and these portals and the mantra and the amazing part of how we can feed back from our ego conscious mind to the subconscious and the unconscious, then usually that then feeds back. So but it then tends closer and closer to that theory on how NPCs get affected by these extreme psychedelic experiences, in that I just don't think they have the right like mental repertoire or tools to actually integrate any of that information into a lower order like language. So it could just be, yeah, they just have a fucking great time partying all that shit, but then they come back and then it's like they don't take anything from it.
Yeah.
At the same time, because soul and spirited people don't necessarily have to take psychedelics to get to the point, everyone eventually finds out in the end or converges to that the same conclusion about what this reality is. In contrast, these guys, if they never came across a drug to have like fun on weekends down your friend's rave or something, if they never came across it, they wouldn't even, they're not even on this path, innit? They're not even looking for it. So I think a lot of it is to do with us and like who, like what we're about. And questions of who we are, what this place is, what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's such an interesting topic about how the different aspects of what people are and how this plays out, especially using DMT. That, you know, I just always question why is these people not having the experiences that what I would say only a few have. And it's like maybe out of say I've interacted with a couple of hundred people that have done psychedelics over the years, like going into doing like ayahuasca ceremonies with groups of people and whatever else. It does seem like only a handful of people actually really touch upon the divine aspect of it and the feminine aspect, especially of it, and why they're tapping into that, and why others, majority, are not. I mean, you get a lot of people, they'll go through the experience and they said they'll have some healing from it, or they'll have a revelation maybe, but they're not tapping into this divine.
Yeah.
And it was the first, like I said, the first time I ever done it, I tapped into this feminine aspect. First time, and it's always been there. And it took a while to build the relationship and how that developed over the years, and what I come to call the Great Mother and what the Gnostics call Sophia. Because maybe it was a trust issue on both parts as well. Like, it felt like she didn't want to startle me in any way. So even though I met this divine aspect first off, the subsequent journeys after that it was like, metaphorically, she was hiding here, and then next journey she was sort of here, and next journey she was sort of here, and you'd sort of turn to look and she would go behind. And when I say she, it was like a glimmering light in the dazzling darkness.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one journey, she went woof, and then it was like these infinite feathers. She just opened up this infinite feathers and was like, "Here I am." And I was actually in a state of astonishment at the time, and I'd done maybe 3 or 4 journeys after that when I was in total astonishment at each time. And still I learned to progress and learned to navigate and talk and communicate with her, because I didn't actually talk to her in English.
No.
The first few times I communicated with her in English, what was happening was there was just like, she come with these arms, these just magnificent multi-dimensional arms, and just encased and held. And she said, I love you, I love you, I love you, over and over again. Just completely a sense of just such unconditional love.
Yeah.
And I didn't see it, as I've learned subsequently now in the future about the love bombs that people get at the near-death experiences and whatever else that can are deception, which we'll touch upon. This didn't feel like any deception. And my discernment at the time was not great, but when I look back at it, I still don't see any deception in it at all, because I will be very discerning in those realms. What I felt was that because I was in a mess at the time and I had no love as I was growing up from parents, etc., that I needed that at the time. I needed this sense of total love to help me on the journey. And because I've come to see that it wasn't deception, and boy, have I asked about deception to her many, many times. And I've really got angry actually on the last mushroom journey, which I'd done a trip report on the channel, and I dropped that, and I said, like, I fucking got really angry. But I was like, you fucking deceiving me. And I never got angry before at her, but it was like that was met with respect as well. She actually said to me, like a pat on the back, like she doesn't say it in English language. I translate it into English language, and it was like this: well done for asking, well done for standing in your power, yeah, and not and just accepting and surrendering to the process. She was actually standing there going, what the fuck? You know, I need to know if this is deception. I need to know and feel in my heart, yeah, that you are here to guide us and help us from a benevolent place for whatever reason, whatever's going on. And you're not deceiving me in any way, shape, or form. And I felt that there was no deception there at all. Could I be wrong, Nick? Yeah, I could be, but at this time in my stage of my journey, it feels like it is the divine aspect that is really coming through. You know.
Yeah, I think it's the point that you made about. Yeah, I've had very similar experiences with the same entity, and I know. I think it's about collecting other people's experiences together, which is actually the same sort of methodology that they use in like psychological research. They don't have probes to enter into the mind. Other people will say that psychology is a sort of pseudoscience because you can't directly measure, and it all comes through people's experiences when studying the mind. Okay, so this is a good point that we can actually like start like assessing the situation. But for you, and I know I do psychedelic art, so I did one of the mother based on my experience with her, and I've had people over the years come up to me and say, "Holy shit, you've seen her too!" Like because they recognize that it's her.
Mm.
It's and I mean when it happens for me, my shaman at the time, because I didn't know who she was after I'd met her. Um, yeah, pretty much the same experience. This overwhelming unconditional love, and also very much the same. She has her arms out and she's like cradling everyone, cradling all of her children.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, in what I know, she could have well been Sophia's actual essence, kind of guiding us in her shadow behind the scenes.
I
At
think.
the same time, she wouldn't, because I'm still very skeptical, and I always am, and she
Oh,
understands that.
yeah.
And she doesn't need my faith. I don't need to I don't need to merge into her as a hive mind.
Mm.
If she's about love, self-respect, and everything else in between, um, she understands the sovereign aspect. But
Yeah.
I can have an interaction with her in awe, which I did have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, be myself,
Yeah.
and the love that she has is just beyond words. Very much in the same way as like a love bomb. I think it depends on how you take it. If you then start worshipping her as a deity,
Mm-hmm.
that's when the Watiko thing has actually, how can I put it, um, uh, uh, taken over the experience, or
Okay.
hijacked it, and
Okay.
because that's how it works. It works by it takes clear truths, puts a little like chink in the glass, so it distorts the image,
Yeah.
and it's all about distortion. It's making the plausible, the impossible, seem like plausible,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I mean that could very well be, but just knowing that and having that as a mental device allows you to sometimes get, you know, taper away like from its the course it has for you.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
Not all the time. We're in bodies very much energy dependent to maintain equilibrium of the consciousness. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's coming out of it. Yeah, like I was just like, wow. I described her, and then the shaman who was guiding me interrupted me, and then he took his phone out. He said, "Did you see these colors?" And they were like, there's like magenta,
Yep.
purple, yellow, and I was like, "Holy shit! That's the exact color scheme that I saw, like to the T."
Yeah.
And then he just said, "Oh yeah, you've met Mother Earth." And then he also said, because I think this also relates back to a point we're making about why some of the NPCs don't experience this sort of thing. He said that she only reveals herself to people who have love in their hearts. So, yeah, I mean, that's a possible explanation for it. I mean, I guess that was just his interpretation of it.
Okay. I
Um,
can see what you mean about where you get into worship energy as well, because having 5 or 6 experiences of total awe,
mm,
and when I do break through now, even when I do it now, There is still a sense of awe, but I'm not sort of all starry-eyed and wishy-washy with it. I'm not like that anymore. But you can really see how people can get into this worship stuff with her very quickly, and then start getting everything skew with, because the Wetiko are coming in and messing with that and doing that's just
It's fucked, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'll tell you what, I had Ganesha come to me once, dancing around in front of me and whatever else. And as soon as I said, I ain't giving you no worship energy. No way. No, I'm not interested. I'll commune with you and we'll discuss and we'll exchange and whatever else, but I'm not fucking doing any worship energy. We'll not do that, What happened? Ganesha fucked off.
Yeah. That's like, it's a mainstream fucking religion. They're gonna spout those kinds of astral entities to the mass consciousness, isn't it? And it's the fact they acted that way towards you when you're in that state of mind just puts more evidence on the table about like how inverted this place is.
Exactly.
So obviously, like, all these grand temples and Buddhist deities and like pagan pantheons and Hindu pantheons and just all of Mayan and Egyptian hieroglyphs and architecture.
Yeah.
Well, these civilizations have 100% had contact with that realm, and it's their own particular artistic style of bringing it like to this place. But they all seem to worship these sorts of entities. It's kind of like, you look at how long the like dark occult priest class has had its grip on like the human species. Yeah, that's the sort of gods that they would want to represent.
Yeah.
Basically. But then
I think you're right when you're saying that the Wetiko is coming in on the back end of it, of the worship energy, and that's how they're getting people. Because Sophia does not expect any worship.
No.
Nothing. Yeah, she totally and utterly respects who you are, what you are, without any judgment. There's no judgment from her whatsoever. I mean, you can go around in circles with your own regrets and remorse and judging yourself, and that's only you doing that to you. She doesn't look upon you whatsoever with any judgment and total acceptance. She's always accepted every part of me. That even when I've said to her before, fuck, I'm fucked up, I fucked up, I've gone and done this and that. And again, she's not talking to me in English. I have to translate it back when I translate it back, it's a tiny minuscule of the experience.
He doesn't speak in language.
No.
Telepathic.
It's all telepathic communication, and it's like it's giving you it's downloaded in like sort of bite-sized chunks so you can try to comprehend it. Because I've had it before where it's come at me in like big lots of information and my mind just can't comprehend it. It's trying to work it out again in English language. It's trying to objectify it. It's trying to break it down into its little components, and I can't.
Can't suspend the information.
Can't suspend that at all. So what she does with me is, as I've learned to do this, more bite-sized chunks, so I can start processing it into English language, not necessarily all the time, because when you get this analogy of you can hear color and see sound, it's like that all coming at you, and all different aspects of what this telepathic communication is. When we translate it into English, yes, it's very, very tiny percentage of what we're trying to get across, because you can't explain at all to anybody who's not done this what is really going on there. But I'm trying to get across, because some people don't even want to do this. They don't want to go into the DMT. They don't want to touch a psychedelic at all. And it's just trying to vocalize as best we can on what is happening there. And for me, has always been discerning from deception.
Yeah.
What is actually happening here?
it's like a direct. It's just another tool we have in our arsenal to try and figure out what's going on here.
Yeah.
And it's true with the mother. Like, there's no judgment. Like, there's no prick like patronizing you and saying, demanding that they have this higher coveted knowledge. You're on equal footings with Sophia, and they're not making you feel guilty. She's not making you feel guilty for anything. They don't have an agenda.
Right.
And it's like, what I do, because I'm detached, but so I'm not even going to interact with these fucking things, not even mother on the way out. She understands that.
Yeah.
But all these pricks and all these fucking astral entities that you see in the DMT realm and out body experiences and all that shit, like, if I was to communicate with them, which I won't, I'd say things like, well, I'd ask them to explain like what they mean, like I do with anyone else here. And I bet I get the same response, like what I get here. When you push the envelope a bit, you get the silent treatment,
Yep.
you get the ignores, you get the switching of context, or if they attack you, they'll do a gaslighting sort of thing, or just some ridiculous thing like that. And then you're thinking to yourself, if this thing has its best intentions in mind for me and it wants to aid my evolution, because I know that gnosis and knowledge, and then applied knowledge, which is the wisdom, is the prize here. Why wouldn't they want to give me the knowledge?
Okay, I need to interject into that. Especially when you said attack. So when I was going through and meeting entities, and some of them were attacking, I would go back with attacking with mind weaponry.
Yeah.
And then
I said attach, not attack. But
sorry.
Yeah, if they were, they could attack. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, do you know what? Let's talk about attack, because it's coming. And so when they was attacking for probably an energy harvest or whatever it was, I actually took quite a bit of time to learn that I needed to open up my heart and shine this light out as love. And they fuck off. They couldn't handle it. They just couldn't handle it at all.
Yeah.
In a way, where I've come to the stance of even the malevolent beings are helping us, because I learned how to open my heart and fuck these beings off.
Yeah.
By them attacking me. And I've come back to this same, I won't call it a complete conclusion because nothing's concluded ever. But these beings, in their attack, in their energy harvesting, in their whatever they're doing, they are helping us.
Yeah, they can't help but teach us, even if
they can't help but teach us. And
they don't intend for it.
And in John Levy's book, Wetiko, he's explaining in there that they can't help but help us by attacking us.
This is what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like, whatever they do, they can't control us. They're in full-on offense, and they're actually doing the opposite of what they intend to do.
Yeah, and it's like this is why I've always said, and I always will say, thank you to them. I always say thanks. Thanks for attacking. Thanks for doing your thing. Thank you. Yeah, because each and every time there is an attack, and because we tried to do a podcast last night, and there was a full-on attack going on, and I couldn't do it. What happened was this morning, I knew it was helping me because I wanted to push past it, and I was like, thanks for attacking again. Thanks for triggering my traumas. Thanks for triggering my programs. Thanks for making me all tense. Thanks for blocking me. And I couldn't really talk, and I got all flustered, and we couldn't do a recording, or we had to stop the recording. And it does seem like, if we want to call a word evolution, it does seem like they're helping you to evolve. It really does. It's not me anyway.
It's evolution to get the fuck out of here, or at least I mean, I have no stake in the outcome. If this is a dark conclusion, or if we've just been sadly mistaken, which I don't think we are based on objective reality, but it's possible, and I still hold it open because I don't attach to ideas, but or convictions. That's when the demiurge has you. The point at which you think you have control, is when you've lost all control.
Sure.
Ironically,
I think you've got it. You have not got it at all.
yeah, it's like it's a slippery snake, and you got to have this sort of you got to have this kind of lucid creativity. Never settle on an idea. Never like give yourself a label. Never like confine yourself to a box. It's kind of like yeah. So like it's like the idea of an idea without bounds. So yeah, that I think that's the key to like getting around this, is to always be on your toes and always noticing what's happening, because the point at which you settle, because this Wetiko thing has created our subconscious, it's created our ego, except we're a kind of super set of rules that's kind of outside of the place tunneling in, and we can have control in the core because our essence is of the pleroma or divine realms that has actually created the demiurgic inversion. So it is beholden to our law. It's just the issue is that we've had to condense ourselves to within its rule sets to try and kind of explode it, like from the inside out, I feel. But kind of sort of like going like back to mother, it's like, at least from what I've kind of heard, like about how these things kind of convince us to come back. I guess it makes sense that it's like, one, if you died and you're still attached to someone or something, or even your own thing here, then you just can't. Especially the atheists, they're really fucking screwed. Like, but you imagine a fucking atheist fucking gets shot into the fucking DMT realm. What are they gonna do?
Yeah.
They're gonna be food, like big time. But
yeah,
it's like, so they hook you on all of these things, and they don't like explain to you what's going on. Or I think it's a lot of the time people don't demand gnosis like they hadn't done in their life, and the intellect and the language and the feedback loops, we know that they're just part of this place. But I think it's important if people would say that, okay, the ego is impermanently, that don't detach from the ego, doesn't matter. But these loops and thought patterns actually imprint on our essence, as in the same time that we're affecting this place and this place is affecting us, just because of the circumstance that we're in. So I think the point I'm making is that if you haven't like demanded gnosis to these things, if you even choose to interact with them, and I'm not even doing that. I'm not even interacting with these things on the way out. But the thing with mother is that what she's about is an entirely alien concept, even of love. It's like I can see in such a multitude of forms that this place is completely about conditional love, because of this order against chaos and need to just derive from a limited set of resources. Should be able to eat grass or like anything else that grows, but no, we have to eat animals and like specific kinds of non-fibrous plants that's not poisonous. Anyway, it's just been set up like that. But her thing's unconditional, and she's everything she's about is a completely alien concept to this place. like at least from my experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with this place. Nothing.
And this is why I think people say the actual word alien when they go and meet these. Even if they meet an essence of Sophia and it's in a certain form, we'll call an entity. People call it an alien because it's alien to them. It's alien to their being. It's alien to what they feel and know. Totally alien to them.
It's alien to me. Like even this is all in retrospect. It's just like no words can't describe it. It's yeah. It just
You know, it never felt alien to me ever. It's like yeah, I had a build up with doing psychedelics when I was younger, predominantly LSD for about 7 years, then moving on to other substances from there. But it's never felt alien to me. It's always felt like home or a home feeling. It doesn't necessarily mean it's really our home, but I've always felt this malevolent place, if you want to call it that. It's never felt alien to me at all, and it feels alien hearing people say it's alien to them.
oh I meant like not like because I do because the unconditional love. I do feel like that place is a form of home, or at least a way out of here. Um, not that you should then go into it with faith. That's just the main point. You retain sovereignty at all times. Even it's just like one of those sort of places within this multiverse where there's an actual kind of like hole out to the pleroma, but I don't think you're actually there. It's just more connecting with the original essence of what Sophia was about. Which is why we look at nature as well as its savagery and its harshness, and the strong consume the weak, survival of the fittest sort of thing. There's a beauty in that, which is what people do focus on, and which is what we see. But there is a feeling of like home calling there, and the alien concepts that I meant is not like I feel like this place is alien. Like I feel like an alien
Yeah.
in this place. Like there's no everything is so against like just how I operate as a being, and the levels of energy that, and I'm sure maybe you can relate, or other people can relate, like the amounts of energy you have to put in because it's forced. We're being forced in this experience. The amount of energy to just operate in this place is a massive like drain. Like what we want to do here, and time is like precious. Um, what you want to create, like is most of your days just taken up with all this survival bullshit. It goes hand in hand with the conditional love as well. So yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, they're just interesting points to think about. In
It's funny you should say about the energy you need just to get through the day or whatever else, because I've just taken on a course and to possibly build a new business. Now, I've done a video about 9 months ago saying, what the fuck is the point? Why would I want to build a new business? What the fuck? It's fucked, you know? But it doesn't look like we're going home anytime soon. By the looks of things, I could be wrong, could be soon, but it doesn't look that way. So I'm delving into a course and doing this and that, whatever else. Anyway, so I started the course earlier and I've done about an hour with this video, took some notes and whatever else, and come across like quite tired. And I had a nap. And I actually slept for hours. I come out of it and I was like, shit, look at the time. I'm going to talk to Nick in about an hour. And I need to do this. That's the day gone. I'm like, how the fuck do I build a business then? I mean, I'm sure it will come into fruition if it's meant for me to go forward with this and to build something, because I need an income. Like I was saying before, I've been living on savings for the last 6 years, and I need to replenish that. So that's got to happen. But with time wise, it's like, because time is in flux, is it like we actually, what am I trying to say? Give ourselves more time or produce more time because we need that more time to do different things. So at the moment, life has been very, I can do what I want, I can get out when I want, I can go to bed when I want, I can do what I want. So time is really irrelevant. And then looking at what I've got to do with the amount of work that I've got to do going forward, I'm sure we will print more time.
Yeah.
When we need it. And it's like I was having a bit of, like, my body was getting tense, going, fucking hell, how am I going to squeeze all this shit in? Because over the last few years, I've developed certain little routines like I like doing, and it helped me. I like to go for a morning walk and do some gratitude with it. I like to do some exercising. I like to prepare food, and preparing food, as we've discussed quite a few times, takes a lot of time. Taking some supplements, doing this, doing a little bit of meditation, do a bit of energy work, doing this, and I'm like, how the fuck do we squeeze it all in? But I'm sure that as we create more balance and you find out how to balance your life with what you've got to do in this mundane reality to come in, to pay for your normal shit and whatever else, I'm sure it can be balanced out. And I think that, like we were saying before about printing time, I'm sure we could print ourselves some more time, in a sense, where we could to do the things we need to do, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when I think about it, kind of, I'm always trying to see so that I can just make a judgment on like what I should do next. It has led me to like the edge of my five senses and my perception. What I was saying last time, where the next point is to just fucking die, to go anywhere beyond this. I feel, but it's kind of and I think to myself, what can I do? Like, so all of this Armageddon stuff is very much conjecture at the moment, although highly likely, I'd say.
Hmm?
But it's not like we can stop the NPCs from doing the fucking metaverse tertiary matrix thing, human enslavement matrix grid, whatever you, technological enslavement grid, whatever you want to call it. NPC is going to do what NPC is going to do. Then we have to push a button on them, then they'll go and do it. So, whatever happens, happens. But it's just what I think. Okay, the world could end tomorrow, but like, so I'm very curious to see if there's ways of finding like glitches in the matrix. Just by, we need to understand like how it works, not just like the sort of like metaphysical using, which is very important, but it's kind of reached a stage where it's just largely conjecture and a bunch of ideas that are like welcome, and I like to spin them in my head to kind of create a sort of energetic kind of flux that where I might be able to resonate and gain like other kinds of insights. That's all good. That's just happening, you know. But also like an understanding of the material world as well, and the whole thing about alchemy, I think, is a metaphor for just having control of the material world. But it's kind of, sorry. What?
I was just going to say, it's like we can continue talking, continue philosophizing, continue talking, and whatever else. But predominantly, I think what you said for yourself, that solutions, whatever solution means, even if solution means finding out how to leave Earth at death and not getting trapped to come back here, if that's the solution, if that's what we need to work upon and find, or like we've said before, or is the solution to rid ourselves of the Wetiko mind virus, so we create a better reality in this density for us to live.
Yeah, we'll probably make like our own secret society or do something like similar to what the Cathars did, and you know what fucking happens to them eventually. That
Yeah.
pissed the demiurges off so much that it had to like literally fucking exterminate them. But anyway, whatever. Like, I guess they got to check out early, but uh,
Hopefully they knew about the soul trap and the reincarnation
I'm
bullshit.
sure they
Yeah.
like they didn't call themselves Gnostics. They were just like a bunch of mystics and shamans who just figured it out. Like probably it was probably us in a different timeline or something like that. But it's kind of I think that like yeah, once you get to that solution mindset and the fact that you can kind of create your own there's like glitches in the matrix. There's ways of like fighting fire with fire I call it. Um, so I'm interested in a lot of technology. Is what I do for my job, software engineer and stuff like that. But everyone and like you know how what I'd say about the metaverse and the tertiary matrix and how dangerous it is. But I know the NPCs are going to be doing that.
Yep.
And the way I see it is, I can't fucking stop them. So
No.
how can I actually exploit the opportunities there? So, like a lot of people think with the crypto stuff, yeah, you just fucking get some coins and wait for it to go up. There's ways that we can own part of the network. So it's kind of like owning, I guess, part of the internet, or maybe owning part of the television broadcasting stations. But these are like up and coming programs the demiurge wants to hijack, the masses with. And why can't we just put our foot in it somewhere? But anyway, this is a plan that I had to kind of talk about how we can use the blockchain and crypto against them
Okay.
and actually infiltrate the tertiary matrix as kind of like a gateway out for some people.
Okay.
There's also probably a point in time where all these centralized Web 2, Facebooks and Skypes and Googles and Instagrams, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, the censorship will ramp up to the point where we won't even be able to talk to each other. We get like blacklisted IP addresses. But there's ways you can get around that. There's alternative communication networks like Tor or I think it's called like I2P or something. I have to have a look into it. But there's all this stuff and completely anonymous ways of transacting. But basically, I mean, that's just what I do, and I think other people also have some really good ideas for like permaculture or homesteading or whatever. But you can kind of, with more like knowledge or gnosis, I think it's very much possible, and especially, because we're just me, you and I, we've been talking, we've revealed like a lot about ourselves and actually accelerated the healing process that would have possibly taken us quite a while to do by ourselves. So I'm thinking if we've done this, just both of us, like imagine like what it would be like if 20 people got together, even 50 people, because the gaslighting from the separation and but it's really just like quite pathetic attempt because we eventually will break out and that's kind of like what we're doing here. So it's kind of I do feel like it's possible to make an umbrella for a short amount of time, and if you keep your heads down, kind of like what they had to do in these secret societies or like mystery schools, that sort of thing, to avoid the persecution, because there probably will become a point where some kind of inquisition will be held, and they'll just use modern terminologies like we're just terrorists or whatever the fuck they want to say.
Yeah.
And it's yeah, so it's something to think about, and you know, I'll put out some information. But yeah, like so yeah, I think that's also we're thinking about like maybe starting a Telegram group, something like that. So yeah, I think it would be a good idea if anyone wants to join. If you want to talk about any problems you have, or even if you just have like ideas, it's just yeah, we just start talking. Then I think that it's something that we haven't tried yet, just more like direct communication.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Opposed to like the comments in YouTube and things of that sort.
Especially now they're censoring the comments so much. I mean, I had come up on the notifications 3 or 4 comments, couldn't even reply, and they're not even showing on the latest podcast on my channel anyway.
All right.
I don't know about what's happening over your side, but yeah, about 3 or 4 now that have just gone skew with, and then that creates sometimes a sense of frustration in people. Like they might have left a meaningful comment, and because you haven't responded, that can create despondence in them. Maybe I'm not saying for everyone, but it could do. I'm just trying to conjecture it. That then can cause a little bit of separation, and YouTube know, you know, they know what they're doing. They know how to play this off on you. So yeah, if we can get not if I've been talking about creating a Telegram group, so we create a Telegram group and see who wants to jump on board and start discussing stuff, because it's interesting what you said about sitting under the umbrella, because when I talk about solutions, I'm not really talking about solutions for this earth. This earth for me at this stage is always going to be here. It is what it is.
It's just fucked, mate.
Yeah, it's fucked.
It's fucked.
If it is redeemable, I've said many times, I'm up for it. If we can do that, we'll do that. If that's the job, the 51% of me leans towards getting the fuck out of here, and I actually want to talk more about the soul trap and leaving Earth, and what my ideas and perceptions are around what we can do for ourselves while we're on Earth, and what we can learn and what we need to do for ourselves here, and then what we need to do when we come out of body, and then just learning more and more about that as much as we can. You know, just even if it's just bouncing ideas off of each other and sparking inspiration within us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to do a video on just dedicated to this soul trap reincarnation loop cycle that they've got going on, and ways around that. So yes, when people think about solutions, it's like you think you're going to try and save this earth or something. You can't save this earth. This earth is what it is, and I'll keep on the table it's been hijacked and it's redeemable, and we're here to sort it out, or whatever you want to call it. But like I said, the 51% of me says, yeah, like it's fucked, and our job is to get the fuck out of here and to wake as many people up as you can to leave.
Yeah. Well, I think we don't know if it's like completely fucked, and and whenever I like say something on here as a statement, it's always up in the air. There's never conviction for me.
Of course.
There is a possibility, but just based on what I must do, based on the information I have, it appears that this place is fucked.
Yeah.
And I'm going to take action based upon the only thing I can do, which is what information I have. Objectively,
exactly.
It seems like the species has been wholly compromised, and perhaps always has been from its conception. And whatever we're doing here is not even informed from the program, the animal soul. Everything we're talking about has got nothing to do with our survival, because what we're disconnecting ourselves from the tribe, from society, from the safety net, of the biology. Yeah. And even like a lot of people becoming like anti-natalists because they see the futility in it all, and also bringing a soul here, a possible soul here. and it totally goes against the program of this place. So it just seems like there's nothing else to do but just try and figure out what's going on. We can all share ideas and stuff like that. But also, I do think that uh, there's we can reduce each other's suffering.
Yeah.
The healing process.
Yeah.
Pointing out each other's blind spots. Maybe people who are more like technically minded can also be like looking for like solutions to like sort of alleviate the just alleviate the material woes and suffering of this place.
While we're here.
So it's like like if I do like programming and stuff like that. So if people be willing to learn some of that, to like make devices, and there's various things you can do to kind of. I'll go into it at some later point. If anyone's like interested in that, that's something we can talk about. But there's loads of things. But it's kind of like sort of sitting back and just being depressed, and then sort of going over the same things that we all know about, like we know about, like is what I was saying. We don't have to get caught up on the question of does the NPC exist or not, because this I think is another one of those. It's what Watiko has done to chink the glass of us being able to see clearly. So we've got to this point, and we can see a difference in consciousness in types of people. What does the Watiko do now? He says, "Oh, let's get them to ruminate on it, to get them to try and figure out exactly what's going on." When they can't, because they're trying to use a tool that is of the biological mechanism that is the NPC, which is the brain and the ego mind. So you can't do it. But it's all conjecture, it's all ideas. But you can act based on like available information. So it's what I was saying in the last one. We don't have to know if the NPC is a real thing. It doesn't matter to me. The person could be sold, just have a sleepy soul, be acting like an NPC. The point is that they act like an NPC.
Yeah.
Therefore, they are NPCs, but it doesn't matter about the fine detail, because we just know that we have this sort of hostile hive minds, alien, possibly infiltration, or perhaps it was built into the place from the get-go. And you can't fucking do anything about it. They are actually taking part in a millennia-long ritual of like human cannibalism. That's what they've been, and they have their various cults of death, which manifested as like monotheistic religious institutions, down to like the atheistic scientism world with Richard Dawkins or deGrasse Tyson as your scientific priesthood, that sort of thing. Same thing, just like just a different coat of paint, but it doesn't matter. So
I'll tell you what popped up for me as you was just saying that about whether this place was always designed this way. Why then do the system cover up that we live on a flat plane? Do you know what I mean? Why do they cover up old tech? Why do they cover up history? If this place was designed specifically for what it's maybe as a complete energy extraction farm, why not just tell all the fucking people? Yeah, you're in hell. We've loosened off you. There's nothing you can do apart from kill yourself. Fuck you. Why cover it all up? Why all the why the cover up? I mean, in its really in its entirety.
It's probably just another. It's like people are probably gonna assume that we're like flat earthers now that I've mentioned flat earth. The truth is that I don't give a fuck whether the thing is like cube shaped, star shaped, I don't know, like fucking cucumber shapes, whatever the fuck. Doesn't matter to me. It could be any shape.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, you get like these groups, and it's just I think they're just more NPCs. These truther groups,
Do you know
We
what?
get sucked into the fucking flat Earth shit. I don't give a fuck what shape it is. What does it matter?
Yeah, I was just talking about the deception around it, why they try and cover it up. But the deception could be that you think there's something being covered up when it's nothing's
Yeah,
being.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
probably just another energy siphon, and
yeah.
those people are probably not conscious beings, because how can you get focused on like doing like 30 years worth of research of whether we landed on the moon or not, or what
No,
shape the Earth is,
yeah,
when why focus on one thing? This is, this reminds me of something that NPCs do. They have tunnel vision. They get religiously attached to like ideas. It's the same thing. Just
yeah. It's funny actually because the guy that's running this course I'm doing, he said he thinks over 90% of the truth movement is just all infiltrated bullshit.
yeah,
And I'm like, I'm going to go higher with that percentage. I'm going to
yeah,
move it up to 98,
yeah.
99%. Yeah,
I think if they're not talking about what we're talking about, and it's that, oh, I mean, we know at this point it doesn't come from ego. It just comes from the point of, hey, can we talk about this? Don't
yeah,
give a silent treatment, or don't do this childish thing where you just ignore what I say. Can we actually talk about this? Not saying we know the truth,
yeah,
or
sure,
this
sure.
hype. It's saying like, this is the only place I've seen where you can be this open. So I think it's most of the truther movement's been infiltrated,
Yeah,
and just the fucking like the protests and all this bullshit. Um, like,
yeah,
I was in Telegram groups for the anti-injection movements. Was what happened over the past 2 years, and I just looked on today because I went there just to check out what it was all about. But I joined a few groups, went on, hadn't been looking on it for a while. Went on there today, just still fucking memes about geopolitics. I think,
yeah,
are you still at that point?
yeah.
You still,
I just want to interject. Yeah, to anyone listening, don't think we think we know the truth.
sorry,
Uh,
cut out a bit because of a motorcycle.
no worries. I'm just saying that to anyone listening, don't think that we've got the truth. Don't think that we think we know we've got the truth. We're just touching on our experiences and where we've got to at this particular time that feels like we're on the right path.
Yeah,
At least that. Um, but going back to saying about how many people talk about these sort of subjects and whatever else, yeah, do you know what? I'm like a handful. That's it. I know of a handful of people that talk like this.
yeah,
Sure, there's others that are not on YouTube or BitChute or whatever else they're on, that talk about these subjects. Of course they do. Most of the Gnostics talk about this, but there's not many that really delve into these topics. And I mean, like again yesterday with the full on attack that was happening to me, they don't want this to be spoken about at all. And that says to me we're on the right track. Even after the hit yesterday and what went on with that, I mean, it come out as empowering because I was like, no, we're cracking on. We're going to do another podcast. If you don't, we'll do it Monday. If you don't work Monday, we'll do it Tuesday.
yeah, yeah,
Whenever I'm not going to be stopped doing what I need to talk about.
exactly.
And eventually they're going to have to kill me. It's as simple as that. Yeah. I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to stop talking about this ever. It doesn't matter at detriment to anything material, my body, or whatever else, because I feel that we are on the right path. It feels right. And because it's so censored, I mean, the two small channels that we've got here, they are censored. They are messed with the comments. I mean, my channel, I don't know about yours, is totally unsearchable. Okay, I've done SEO on it. Okay, I've done the tags, I've done the SEO. Yeah, it's unsearchable. Why is it unsearchable? Well, of course, because they don't want this fucking shit out there at all. And I might be sounding like I'm a bit ego and a bit big-headed. Oh, we've got it done, and we're talking about this, and we've got it right, and they're censoring us because we've got it. It just seems that way.
Yeah, we're just talking, mate, without any conviction to anything, which is why all these psychological barriers come up, because they all have convictions. And I think at the crux of it, humans' slavery is religious mindsets, and the religion is to the demiurge, and it has a multitude of faces, from right brain imbalance, theism, left brain imbalance, scientism, just all different expressions of the same religious worship to the demiurge. But we're not religious,
No.
and
But some people will think we're religious if they come from. When you talk about the divine, you talk about mother. They're going to think you're religious. They're going to think it.
But the great thing about it, in terms of like what they think, is that because we have, well, I don't know, I can only talk for myself. I don't know about you, but like I've got no conviction to my identity. My name is Nick. It's just the words used to recognize this particular expression of the source, right, in this place for other entities to know me as. But I'm a blank canvas to anyone. So whatever anyone's opinion is of me is a reflection of themselves. Literally. So whenever they think that we're religious or we're crazy and all that, they're basically talking about themselves at this point.
Yeah.
That's how I feel, at least.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing they have to point at. There's no, they always have to put a label onto you. You're an anti this. But when you don't have any labels or any like identification of this place, you can then you can actually see what they are.
Right.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
So literally, like, man, like we're just thought of as like completely clinically insane. Someone were on a fucking stickers on high doses of fucking benzo, or I don't know, some opiates or some shit like that, just because we're fucking crazy. But like it says everything about them.
Yeah.
Like the fact we don't have the right to talk to them. But that's just more of a sort of exaggerated expression of how they've always treated us. We've never had the right to be like involved with them. I used to think that everyone was like me when I was younger. It was very just very interesting and very confusing, the kind of subconscious rejection. They always preach like values such as, like especially in like professional worlds or the world of work, or the drudgery that we have to be involved with, like some kind of community, like cohesion, whatever it is, respect for other people's viewpoints. But it's what they're actually talking about. It's respect for the different variations and sub egregores, cells of the demiurge's body. Do you see what I'm saying? Have respect within itself, but if it's something that's solely not of it, then they completely go against their values. But that's no surprise, because they go against everything they claim. They're the complete opposite of what.
Yeah. Well, this is why, Nick, I've removed myself from society and pretty much isolate myself, because you are not accepted, you're not respected, you are deemed as fucking mental, and the way the system's playing about with mental health laws at the moment and doing that is going down the road to capture us, to capture people like us and what we're talking about, and to get you locked up or even killed or whatever they're going to do. But fuck them. Still going to talk about it. I still will be open if I do when I do venture into public, which is not that often. But I still can't help but talk about some things with, like, even an NPC. I'll still interject some concept or something that's a little bit out their comfort zone. I can't help but do that, so that's just part and parcel of just like prodding the fucking demiurge. Just give it a little poke here and there,
But when they're in I just couldn't take the complete piss when it's not like that I'm beholden to them for like a paycheck or something. Not that I go out like with malice, but like if they start doing some stupid bullshit around me, then I'll start to just like poke my finger at it. I usually try to avoid them, like in general.
It's
Just
why I've always said.
energies.
It's why I've always said all awakened beings. You should only be working for yourself, bringing in your own income, because I could never work in a capacity for the system. And when I collapsed my business in 2016, I had an electrical business. I collapsed it because of my health collapsed, so I collapsed the business. And I said from that moment on, I said I'll never work for the system ever again, ever. I'll never do it. I'll never be in a job. Oh, I've been self-employed for 25 years, but I will never do it again. Now I'm looking to get back into what we'll call business, but it's going to be solution-based, probably counselling, coaching, awakened, helping people through their awakenings, through dark night of the souls and things like that, which I call solution-based helping to navigate this realm as much as we can help people to leave. Not really to save this fucking earth and do all that sort of shit, but yeah, dealing with people in that capacity is actually impossible for me. Not even I couldn't even rise to the challenge. I wouldn't even want to rise to the challenge.
Yeah. Why would you want to rise to
Fuck that. I'm not up for it. I've been there. I've done that. I've pretended to be an NPC when I worked on site, and shit, it wastes my energy to the point where it tires me out even more. Just pretending, because the truth is about the truth, and I can't fucking lie. Well, saying that, yeah, I can lie, and I do lie, because do you know what? When I hear people say, "Yeah, I'm a truther and I never tell any lies," I'm like, "Fuck off, fuck off." You're lying in that sentiment as it is, because sometimes dealing with NPCs, you got to lie. It's the way it is, you know. Just even like doing business, you've got to lie. So I don't want to be in that fucking situation where I'm expelling energy lying. I want to be truthful as much as absolutely possible. Hence why I've got to work with myself, and predominantly I just want to go forward with this awakened coaching, so we will use it. I don't know what terminology is going to be for it, but yeah,
it's just a place for people to talk, man.
Yeah,
even if they don't want to, just to share ideas.
If you need to come and fucking have a good old swear off and just pour your fucking anger, just pour it out if you need to. Yeah, I'll listen.
Yeah, because we're not insane. It really is. It's like what Derek says in some of his videos. Is really not us that's the problem, that they want to make us think. It really is their problem. And how do I know that? How can I say that with like confidence?
Yeah.
It's because we can't even get to this point in the conversation. Like if you can get to this point in the in terms of like what we're talking about, in terms of like modeling the reality, then I'll take your point into consideration. But until then, and if I'm getting like these like childish mental barriers and blockages, cognitive dissonance, gaslighting, you know, all the very predictable machine-like programmed responses.
Yeah.
And you hear the same things all the time from everyone, like the exact same kind of sentences and responses or memes. Mate, it's so robotic, but yeah, it's like we are actually sane, and see, because there's the openness, there's the willingness to hear them out.
Yeah.
But they don't even have a voice.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like definitely a Telegram group that will happen. We'll set that up for sure. And like I said, going forward, so from my end, coaching, counselling, whatever words you want to use for that, and just helping out in general, and also bouncing off your ideas about where we can create some financial independence, some being off the radar, some anonymous stuff, so we can hide a little bit behind the scenes, but use their internet still, get around the censorship, they're going to probably put a biochip on people so you can access the internet like that. If your social credit score is not good enough, you can't enter the internet. So we'll get around things like that as well.
Yeah. I'm willing to teach people some programming because there's some technical stuff involved in that if people want to rise to facilitate things like that. But yeah, like there's the counseling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do art and like 3D modeling and stuff like that. If people are interested in that, or even if they do it themselves, we could do like collaborations and things of that sort.
Yeah, because you do need a creative outlet, and I mean, yeah, if I'm not being creative, then I start sort of getting a bit jittery and whatever else.
It's everyone's preferences. Some people have a preference to the aesthetic. Other people have a preference towards like space and time,
Sure.
numbers and logic.
Sure.
They're different. I was saying they're different approaches to get it, but like a lot of us have holistic intelligence anyway, so we can do both.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see where we go because I can't keep going on like this, like just kind of
running around in circles.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like an island of sanity with like sharks all around me. It's fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, well, but perhaps it is to bring more people on board that are want to discuss these ideas, and there's truth in there, and bringing in solutions. Like I said, even if it's just the solution of how we exit Earth, start discussing that more and more. Like I said, I think I've got like 3 or 4 pages of different ideas while you're on the Earth plane, and different ideas of what we will need to do when we exit at death, and everything in and around that. So
how we can alleviate suffering as well whilst we are here, whilst this program plays out to the end of our lives.
Yeah.
And I think we could even who knows, the possibilities there that we could even alleviate our material suffering to an extent that is tolerable and maybe even enjoyable. I mean, thing is, I don't know. So
yeah,
in the case New Age optimism is based on no foundation. Like I can't do anything else at this point, but kind of just say, all right, we'll give it a go. Demiurge might come and fuck us up or whatever. But you know what? It's better than just fucking sitting around and ruminating. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So yeah, let's end the podcast there because one, I'm losing light and the bulb's just gone, so that's quite an interesting what's happened there. That's cool. Are they trying to stop us communicating? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It could be just coincidence. But
it's about 2 hours anyway. It's a good time again. We usually do it for 2 hours.
Cool. So we'll create the Telegram group, and then what we'll do is on the next podcast we'll put the address up for that. And then, just I mean, like obviously,
just put it in the description, man.
Yeah,
just take it off of this. Description.
Yeah, fine. Yeah. Okay. We'll create that. We'll bring up a name about it. We'll have a little ponder of a name, and let's see where this rides, and see what happens. So yeah, really cool, man.
That's the only thing you can do. Just try and see what happens.
So try and see what happens. And what's going to happen is going to happen, and what's meant to be is meant to be.
Yeah. All right, sweet man. It was a great chatting with you again, and I hope everyone's managing out there. And
yeah.
Take care, man. And I'll see you next time.
Yeah, man. You take care too. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. See ya.